Um, a lot of people would say it's this, people would talk about countries and stuff like that, or Patton, or whether or these generals or whatever. You know, I mean, I invented overwhelming firepower. With like my battleships, and like I say, the great thing about my battleships is that they could fire a pattern, or they could all converge. All four cannons on a battleship could convert. And I think I was like, hit the beach at an angle so you can use all your cannons, to hit those targets. Like, you know. So, because if you hit a beach like this, the back cannons can't really play a part, so they kind of hit it at a little bit of an angle. And like I said, and there's a picture of it. There's three battleships or four battleships, and then they got the big one. I think later on up close, and I think they end up getting kind of stuck. But anyway, though, it was one of those only. It was one of those rare footage. There's a couple different rare footage or pictures of basically battleships basically beached on the shore, and it's like it's not an accident. That was my decision. They were my battleships, and I had built them in my shipyards, and basically it was basically to get one of those rich and powerful people. He had lived there for like 5 years or longer, and he had fortified his position, and he had an army out there in the world that was basically attacking innocent civilians and going after other people and pushing people around like they were nothing. People were scared of him because he had all this money and all this power, and he had like an army at his beck and call, and he could kill anyone. They said. Anyway, my people tracked him down, and basically, I was like, we need to take this guy out. Let's take him out. So my and they're like, are they didn't want to beach the ships, but the men would die. And I was like, well, they're going to be death because they're landing right next to where the ships were. So because like I said, the tanks and everything, they were firing, you know, the landing ships were coming in like this, and so the tanks were shooting over or through. Were able to shoot over or through, and the battleships were actually, like I say, it was the battleships were like right here, and the landing ships were coming like this, and the battleships were kind of trying to provide cover, but the beach they had moved all the tanks up to the beach, and they were firing at the landing boats. So I was like, get the battleships in the way of the fire, you know. I mean, I had seen the photographs of where they were landing, and I knew where they were landing. I had worked in that, I had a base or something or a mine something there, and I was like, I know where they are. So, I knew about the photographs. So I was like, get the ships in front of the landing craft so they can't just directly fire into there. I mean, I was basically, almost on a one-to-one talking to them, or talking to my people, and they're relaying my orders. So anyway, so they took the ships and then one of those legendary photographs is born, basically. So anyway, they're expecting to take heavy casualties, and like I say, I think we only lost like 13 guys or 26 guys or something like that, and mostly or a little bit few or maybe 600 or 300, but it was because they hit one of the landing crafts. They ranged the gun. They when my ships got in the way, they put their guns like this and started shooting over the top, and they couldn't really hit that much because they couldn't see. See, if you can see your target, then you can hit your target. So that's why I told them to get the battleships up in there and basically just beach them. They sat there for over a year, so or 6 months or something like that. And plus, because the battle raged on for like a month or so, or a couple weeks, because he had a lot of people there. He had over 3,000 people or 30,000 people that were fighting on his side or something like that. He was like some lord or whatever. It's like, anyway, I was just using three of my old ships, or three of my ships, basically. The White Fleet. Like I say, there's lots of photographs of my of my White Fleet. There's lots of there was like my different runs. Like every 5 years, I would build a battleship. So Battleship Row was basically my ships. There were a couple other people's ships. They would build ships, but they didn't have the money that I did. So, or the metal that I did. I could spend like whole country's worth of metal on a battleship. And like I say, after I did things like going after that guy, I was praised as a hero, as the savior, because he was just basically pushing around everyone. He could, he was gloating that he could kill anyone. So anyway, he's just one guy, and he didn't have, like I say, I had slowly worked up my money. Like it took me a long time to build up the amount of money that I had to be able to own battleships. I had worked it up throughout the years, and so like I had struggled hard to slowly get up to this power rating of basically of owning battleships, more than one, at least four of the biggest battleships. And I had through my different actions of like taking out this bad guy, taking out that bad guy, doing things like revenging the St. Valentine's Day massacre with the St. Valentine's Day tank. I was already a legend, and so, and then and then I did a few more things that basically put me over the top. Like I was like, where like they would sing songs about me for decades, as this, like I say, people thought I was unstoppable. People thought I was unkillable. There was, like I say, if women actually, they denied me forever because, I was almost like too legendary. And people would, that's why Nixon and JFK, they hated me because women would just ask, is Lucifer going to be around? Where's Lucifer? Because, also all the necklaces, the rubies, the Tiffany store, like those were all, I owned countries. I owned planets, and so like everyone always wanted to know who I was, what I was, where I was, I mean, yeah. So anyway, it took me a long time to get to become that powerful. And I had to be really good and really honest. And I was. And like I said, I had just had these ships that were rusting away. Like the Bismarck and all these other ships. I mean, I didn't really need them anymore. They were just rusting away. And then that one person was like, blah, 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 blah. And he killed a couple of my people. And I was like, argh. So we tracked him down. And like I said, they had verification. Many people said that he was a problem and he was a very bad person. I made the call. I was like, well, let's go after him. So, and it took us like I think it was 3 years of investigation to finally work through his network of people to where we were like, because there was lots of rich people. There was lots of people of power. And it's like, okay, so, because I don't want to kill a good person, I wanted to kill the person that was doing those attacks and killing those people. So we found this epically bad person, and he was in this epic stronghold. I was like, he's probably going to be living in a stronghold, so why don't we just look at the strongholds first? Because there's only 13 or 20 strongholds throughout the world. So I was like, well, he's probably going to, if he's really this bad, then he's going to be living in a stronghold. So, because he's going to expect that one day his luck will run out. So, and so, like, those kinds of things basically led to figuring out who it was. And once we knew that, then it's just a matter of sending in the ships and the men. So, like I said, America was legendary. Germany was legendary. America was legendary. Every single one of my countries was like, that's why, the giant cannons and anyway, yeah. Anyway. like I say, I mean, movies like American Beauty and everything else, I mean, people laugh and people would joke to me and say, well, it's not as bad as it could have been or would have been. Because these people thought they were unstoppable and powerful like me. People thought nobody could stand up to them. Like I say, I was that one.